Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Rabbi Isai, we're holding on Daf Zayin Omid Beis on the bottom. Yesterday we had a Gevaldik Shaila. It was just we have to finish up the sugya. We had to stop short. The airspace above the mizbeach, is it like the mizbeach? If you put the meat of a carbon in that airspace, is it considered as if it's touching the mizbeach or not? Something like this. So the Gemara says, well, we could bring a raya right now. I'm just going to say about Peh. Bring a raya from if the kohen is on top of the mizbeach and he shechted, he did melika, not shechted, he did melika to a chatos. Yesterday we spoke about oila. Chatos bird, he should not be up there. But if he was, he did it up there, what should he do? So it says you have to do hazah. You have to sprinkle the blood. The problem is, let's see, hazah is something like this, where you, from a distance, you give it a toss. So over here, the blood had to go through the air and hit the mizbeach. So if it's going through the air and you're on top of the mizbeach, it could be a problem. So let's see the Gemara. 3 lines from the bottom. Lach gisa mia tifshay. On the other side, if we do a flip, not an oila, we could learn from a chatos, then maybe perhaps you could come to a conclusion here. You can figure it out. The avir mizbeach dummy. That the airspace above the mizbeach has a halacha like the mizbeach itself. Because if you hold that it's not like the mizbeach, you have a puzzle chatos, meaning you had intent for a different carbon, let's say you thought you're doing the malika for the chatos bird, you're thinking that it's an oila. Now we know that by chatos, shaloi l'shma makes it puzzle. Heichi mazim dama. The halacha is that you sprinkle the blood when it's possible. How can you do this? Havale yarud. Once the blood is flying through the ear, it's as if it left the mizbeach. It went off the mizbeach. You can't put it back on the mizbeach. The same question, if you have blood of another carbon in a kli, and you're supposed to do zrika, it's on top of the mizbeach, so you do zrika. According to Reb Gamliel, there's a mandama that says you should do zrika. How? It's going through, it's flying through the ear, and it's as if it went off the mizbeach. So how could it go back on the mizbeach? Says Gemara, you're right. It's a great question. So we must say the magalu. Here, he did something like this. He's not throwing the blood, but the blood is, you put the kli on the wall of the mizbeach. So there's no that's the next question. So So it never flew through the air. What do I gain now? It didn't fly through the air, so it never went off the mizbeach. It was always on the mizbeach. Says Gemara, azahi. That's called azah. Azah means from a distance. Mitzuhi. That's literally squeezing out the animal. I'm not going to show you. You did it yesterday. Taking the bird, and that's another thing you're supposed to do. The Torah says do both. Azah and mitzuhi. Squeeze it, give it a kvetch on the mizbeach. Hazrika. When we're talking about the non-kosher carbon, we said it's not zrika, shvicha. That's called spilling it. Let's say it is, but that's not the way people. That's not the way the kohen does it. You don't go up to the mizbeach. Omer Ravashi, he did not do berosh mizbeach hachanami. He says that wasn't our question. Our question wasn't if the kohen himself is standing on the mizbeach doing zrika, doing hazah. Because if he's on the mizbeach, then he himself is touching the mizbeach. There's no question that's considered like the mizbeach. Kiko Amar, the whole question was it's halino bekanyamai teiku. The whole question was he did something like this. It's on a stick, it's on a rock. He's not on the mizbeach. He himself is off the mizbeach. I just want to know, is the airspace of the mizbeach considered like the mizbeach or not? But if he's on, like you just said, this case that he's on in his mizbeach, and how does he do hazah? No, then everybody would agree that that avir is considered like the mizbeach. Says the Mishnah, kli alach mikachim salach. In the Beit Hamikdash we had different measuring cups. Check this out. They're all made out of gold, pure gold. Can you imagine? Pure gold. Rashi says that for the liquid we had 7 different kalim. It wasn't like these measuring cups they could do multiple things. Each kli did one thing. You wanted a quarter of a lug, you got to go all the way to the bottom. You wanted a hin, all the way to the left. You want something in between? Each kli. Lug is 3 from the right. Typical lug. Now that was for liquids. That's for oil, for wine. What about if you want to measure flour? So for flour, which is a solid, you use something else. A chati yisar. The kli, this is a kli in the Beis Hamikdash. It's a kli shares. It has powers. Whatever you put into it becomes kaddish. You have a sack of flour in the Beis Hamikdash. It's not kaddish at all. What if I take that sack of flour from the Beis Hamikdash? I go to the store with it. I go into Yerushalayim. I go into Bnei Brak with a sack of flour. And then I come back into the Beis Hamikdash. Should I do anything wrong? No. Nothing happened to the flour. Once I put it, it's chulin, why not? Whatever it is. Once I put it into, it's not chulin, it's a bedek habayis. But once I put it into the kli, boom, it comes kaddish kedushas haguf. But if I take flour, and instead of putting it into here, I put it into here, it doesn't become kaddish. Slei alach mekadsh v'salach, umidas yavish mekadsh v'sayavish, and the kli, the vessel that's mekadesh, the dry, could only do dry. Ein kli alach mekadesh v'sayavish, v'lo yavish mekadesh v'salach. Which the Gemara is going to say one afkimina, it's not 100% like we're reading. So, klei ha-kodesh shenikvu. You see how this is getting into Haggadahs already. You have a kli that has a hole in it. If you could continue using it as the original usage, let's say it was for flour, and it has a pinhole in it. No, the flour is not going to escape from there. You can continue using it. Mikachit. It's as if it was like the original type of kli. Mikachit, it still has the power to give kedusha to the flour. Bimlav, let's say it's a nice sized hole, and it's what's the word? The flour is escaping. Is there a better word to say? Leaking. Leaking is for liquid, I would think. Okay, whatever. It's leaking flour. V'im lav emikachin, no good. It's not mekadesh. V'kula emikachim elo b'kodesh. If you take this same golden vessel and bring it to Bnei Brak and fill it up with flour, no kedusha whatsoever. It's because it's in the Beis Hamikdash it gives it kedusha. Omer Shmuel, Leishanu elamidois, ava mizrachos mikachim. Check this out. He says it's super interesting. The only thing we discuss are these kalim. These are measuring cups. But what if you take a kli like this? I'm going to put them side by side. The measuring cup on the right, if you fill it up with flour, doesn't do anything. No kedusha. But if you take the kli, the mizrach, again, I'm not saying this is exactly what it looked like. This is based on, it had a point on the bottom, so it was very difficult, impossible to put it down. See, the kind had to constantly hold it so the blood shouldn't congeal. But if I take flour and put it in the left one, the mizrach, it's not a measuring cup. It's a kli that holds liquid. You're right, it holds liquid. But if I put solid in it, it would also be mekadesh it. It's only when I put it into a measuring device of liquid that it's not mekadesh the solid. But if I put it into a regular kli that holds liquid, it is mekadesh the solid. That's what he says, and I'll bring you a right from a pasuk. Shneimar, shneim, mileim soilos is the pasuk that we say on Hanukkah. We're warming up the Hanukkah here. Pach. That what? That even though I put soilos, I put flour, I put solid into this kli that's designed for liquid, it becomes kaddish. What's the raya? Once you mix this mincha, you mix the flour together with oil, so it becomes sort of like liquid. It's liquidy. It pours out. So that's why it became kaddish. Not because the kli has the power to be kaddish a solid. It's not solid. Very good. We didn't use one of those blenders. What do they call those? You know, today you take one of those. What is it called? A zuzher? No way. That's what you guys call it? Hand blender. A hand blender. You take it, zuzher, you zuzher it in there, and there's not a single molecule that didn't mix in with this. They didn't have that. This is what you're talking about in the Beis Hamikdash. They take a bunch of flour, take oil. I did it in shear once. Don't ask. It's chunky, gunky. You wish there was a zuzher, but Hashem said, no, take the oil, go like this. So what do you have in there? I guarantee you there's some globs of, what's the word? Clumps is a better word. Clumps in there that are just pure flour that are coated with oil. But if you go into it, you take one out, you pop it open, the flour is going to explode. How did that become Kaddish? Those are certainly solid. Inside this mixture is certainly solid. Elamai, the Kli is Mekadosh. But it's a liquid Kli. You're right. Liquid Kli could be Mekadosh as solid. Only a liquid measuring cup cannot be Mekadosh as solid. No, you're right. It's not liquid. It's a solid. If you compare a mincha flour that's mixed with oil compared to a liquid like blood, that's a solid. The Gemara is having me know that it's a liquid. No, it's not a liquid. It's a solid. Compared to blood, it's a solid. And you see that it's mekadosh, so a solid is mekadosh in the kli. Much more. We have 4 types of issues with the kli. Kli shor is a mekachim el shleimin. It doesn't have the power to be mekadosh a kli if it has a hole in it. Kli shor is a mekachim el shleimin, a mekachim el meleim. So let me show you the little chart here. It goes top and bottom. Shleimin means hole, and not with a giant hole in it. Yeah, it can't have a hole like that. It's not mekadosh. It literally won't be mekadosh. Meleim means you have to put the full shear in there. Meleim. So if it's a holds in Yisarin, you have to put Yisarin. Let's say you put a half a Yisarin like the one on the bottom. It's a chisarin in the shear. It's a chisarin. It's like a psul. You put the wrong amount, no good. It's not mekadosh a half a shear. And then we're going to see metoichan. Metoichan means that it could only be mekadosh up to the edge, to the rim, but not above. Like if you do too much, you pile it on, it's not going to be mekadosh that part. And befnim just means inside the Beis Hamikdash and not outside of the Beis Hamikdash. Says the Gemara, "Ein mekachim ela meleim, ein mekachim ela metoichan," and only what's inside up to the rim. V'amri la, ein mekachim ela shleimim u'meleim u'befnim. And there's a shita over here that only says 3 out of the 4. What's missing? Ein mekachim ela shleimim, meleim u'befnim means in the Beis Hamikdash. What's missing? Metoichan. What would that mean to me? What would that mean? That even if you go above the rim would be okay. It is mekadosh. My benayu. So what's the difference between these two lashonos? Benayu beirute midos. If I do something like this, if I overflow it, according to the shita that takes out the word mitoichan, so this would be kadosh. But if you hold mitoichan, is that the word? Yeah, mitoichan. Mitoichan means it has to be within the rim. So the beirute midos would not be good. Kadosh, yeah, kadosh. Actually, it says in the Brisa, all 4 together, makbid on mitoichan, has to be up to the brim. Listen to this unbelievable thing. Number 2 from the right, the meleim. If I fill up a kli with a half a shear, it'll be more no good. So he says, that's because you didn't have in mind to put more in. But let's say you're filling it up from a sack of flour and you ran out halfway through. So you go to the closet, you get the other sack. Okay, you're in the middle of pouring it. You had in mind to get to the shear. If you're going to stop over here halfway, okay, you're right, it's not Kaddish. But if you had in mind to finish it up, then it's Kaddish. No, each one is a Kaddish. Why? Because this is the win number 1. Tomorrow I'm going to combine it with something else later. Memela is Kaddish. Hayina mehachi. Meleim and meleim el shleimim. So by the way, this is tricky. Mam is tricky because if you look at this chart over here, what does shleimim mean in our chart? Shleimim in our chart means a whole. And now we're doing a complete. We're going to another. We're using the word shleimim, and what we mean is meleim. Yeah, and they're right next to each other. 2 words. It's confusing. But so put it in your, take your pencil out and write. Ein meleim el shleimim does not mean shalom without a hole. Meleim means a full shear. We're just chazering now. If you ran out of a product, or you're going to come back in a few minutes and put the whole shear in there, Rishon Kodesh, as the first half a shear goes in, that becomes Kodesh. Then you put the second one in, it also becomes Kodesh. It's like a riddle. How's it possible that you put a half a shear in it becomes Kaddish. Or if you put a half a shear and it's not Kaddish. The same amount. You put a half of the shear you're supposed to, a quarter of an isarin into the kli, zero happened, and you put a quarter of isarin, it's mamish Kaddish. Because it's all in the head, Yiddishkeit is in the head. If I think to myself, I'm just starting, I'm going to come back later and put the other half, boom, it's Kaddish. If you don't think that, not Kaddish. Ein kli alach mikadish. Omer Ravi Temer Ravasi Ein mikachim li karev, al mikachim li pasel. Simple. A kli. Let's say you have a measuring cup for liquid, and you pour flour into it. We said it's not Kaddish. It's not Kaddish. He says, oh, it's not Kaddish. What do I mean it's not Kaddish? It's not Kaddish. Don't put it on the Mizbeach. But it's Kaddish enough that if you're a Tvul Yaim, you have a certain amount of tumah to you, and you touch it, poof, it becomes possible. If you put it in the Kli, it becomes Kaddish enough. If it's Kaddish enough that you take it out of the Beit HaMikdash, boom, don't bring it back in, it's possible. Whereas before it was in the sack of flour. If you took it out of the Beit HaMikdash, you could bring it in, out, whatever you want to do. But this gives a little bit of dusha. And some say this vard on something else. Rabbi Isai, meduma. What's meduma? You have truma. Who could eat truma? Only a kohen. Let's say the truma fell into a box of other fruit. So now I don't know what to do with that fruit because there's truma in it. And since there's truma in it, check this out. There's a pasuk. Listen to this. We're learning new things every day. It says in Yecheskel, mimashki Yisrael. That's something that a Yisrael could eat, drink. It has to be available to Yisrael. When you have a box of fruit and half of it is truma, could a Yisrael eat from it? No. Only a kohen could eat from it. From that, you cannot bring a mincha. You can't bring minachas. You can't take the flour and grind it down for a mincha. Unesachim, you can't make wine from it and pour it on the mizbeach like this. Uminchas behema. When you bring a carbon and you have to bring a mincha together with it, you can't do that. Ubikurim, and the first fruit of the year, some of it is truma, some of it is not. You can't bring it as bikurim. Why? Minameduma, because it is mixed with truma. And if you have Arlo, I'm not even going to show that video, I'll just jump straight to Kilaya Kerem. You planted wheat between the vineyard. This is the Raisa. So you can't bring from the grapes or the wheat, you can't bring a Nesachim or a Mincha. Who can't eat this? Even a Kayin can't eat it. So certainly, if only Yisrael can't eat it, and it's a problem, so certainly if both a Yisrael and a Kohen can't eat it, of course you can't bring a mincha from it in a sachem. Okay? Certainly Arlin Klei Kerem, and if you brought it, it's not Kaddish. So it's similar to our Sugi. Why? Because I'm a Rabbi. Ravasi like Kiddush li Karev, aval Kiddush li Pasel. What does it mean it's not Kaddish when it's Meduma? It means that it's, so here there's a little switch. Again, take out your pencil quickly. Leiby, take out your pencil. Over here doesn't mean, if you just read the words, it would be similar to before. Like Kiddush L'Karev, you can't put it on the Mizbech. Like Kiddush L'Pasul, that if a Tvul Yom touches it, no. Over here, it's literally pasul, and you need to burn it. But Kiddush L'Pasul, you don't have to wait for a Tvul Yom to touch it or take it out of the Beis HaMikdash like we said before. The taich of these words is different than the taich we said before. Pay attention. Here goes the Agadata. This is the beginning of the Agadata. You have a hole in your kli. It was a problem back in the day, very thin kalim, and it has a hole. You cannot, what is it called, weld it together. You can't patch it. No patching. You don't act like a pauper when you're a king. There's no such thing in the Beis HaMikdash. You don't put a bunch of lead in there. Nivgimu, and there's a little dent in it, like a becher. You're not supposed to make kiddush from a becher that has a dent on the top. You don't fix it. Sakin shenivgam. So over here, sakin shenivgam is interesting. Obviously, when you have a knife, you're supposed to sharpen it all the time. We're not talking about a little tiny b'gima. There's two types of b'gimas. This is a typical b'gima, let's say. That the shoichet runs his, if you ever seen them, they take these long knives and they have these nails and they go, I wouldn't be able to do it. And they try to see if they can feel a little jagged edge. And then I'll show you what they do. In a second, we're talking about this. This is a real knife of Reb Weizfish, but a fake b'gima that Yoshi did. It's a massive mum over here, and all the sharpening you're going to do in the world is not going to take that out. Toss out the knife. So we're talking about a large b'gima. Sakin shenivgam, ei mashchizin es b'gimasa. Here, so we have Reb Weizfish's ei mashchizin es b'gimasa. A large one. Nishmita, let's say the handle fell off, a marzino, so you don't put it back. There was a knife in the Beis Hamikdash had small begimas, Rabbi, so we're not talking about the large ones, like this. Every 2 days, another one. They would fix it, then it would come back. So they did a little pole. The Kohanim did a pole. They said, no, it's not worth fixing this all. Let's get rid of it. It's making too many treifas. You don't use a needle and make clothing. So it's very interesting. They would fashion the clothing. Here we have an oirig machine right over there from Peretz Chaim Levin. They would make almost like a undershirt in one shot, in one piece. That's how they would weave it into one, and then they would add the sleeves later. It should be special oirig. Nizgalu, unbelievable. What happens if the clothing got dirty? Now you can imagine in the Beis Hamikdash, with all the blood, it's going to get dirty. You can't use detergents and different chemicals to wash out the clothing. So what are you saying? What? You're allowed to wash it with water? What about the fact? What about the fact that blood, you have a blood stain, how are you going to get it out with water? It doesn't even work. You should use oil in essence. Omar Abaya, Hoki Goma. It says Abaya. If it's a stain that water could take out, then you can use detergent. It's not an issue to use detergent. Before you guys go, just one more halacha. Obviously. What do you do with these begadim? In the time of the Beis Hamikdash, you didn't buy it in China, a machine-made clothes. To make a shirt like this, it's handmade. You imagine how many hundreds of hours for one shirt? Thousands and thousands of dollars. What do you do with it? Huh? The wicks for the menorah. You undid it and made wicks for the menorah. And we're going to see the begadim had powers. They actually helped kapara. So you take that power, you take that kedusha, you make a wick out of it. It makes a lot of sense. But if you have to come onto chemicals to take out the stain, you have to send it to the dry cleaner. You can't even use water. You never wash people had questions like, what? You're in the Beis Hamikdash, so every time a drop of blood gets on a beged, poof, throw it out. I guess. I don't know. Maybe they were careful. The bottom line is, here are the clothing of the kohen. Yeah, this is what a kohen gadol looks all dressed up. But what is it based? What are the basic begadim? So there's 4 on the right that every kohen wears. The kohen and the kohen gadol wears the 4. In addition, he wears the 4 on the left. A total of shmoina begadim. So we're going to go through all the begadim here. Me'il, the one on the left, is all blue. What did it have on the bottom, Rabbi Isai? Had the bells and the pomegranate. Shenemar vayas esmilo efet klil tchelos. The whole thing was blue. Tchelos. Shulav kesod. What about the hem? Maybe tchelos vargomon v'tilashani shezurim. Beautiful what he did here. You take like the purple and blue and then here, mamish like this. There's a close up of what it might have looked like. But just l'sabir to the naim. I'm not saying exactly like that. And what would he do? You have pomegranates on the left that they blossom, they open, and the ones on the right are closed. They didn't open their mouth. Says Rashi, when children fight, they wear helmets. And if you look close, I just noticed this now. Yesterday. Koinois means a cone. And if you look at the word, it actually says cone in this word. Coins. Kuf, Vav, Nun, Sof. Cones. And in Hebrew also, that's how they say it today. I forgot exactly how they call it cone in Hebrew, but something like that. Konsot, something like that. So when children fight, they wear helmets here. It's supposed to look something like this. We're learning a lot of stuff today, Reb Nachman. Knives, cigarettes, fights. That's what he says. They fight each other with sticks or whatever.
Jewish children or God?
Rashi says Tinoikos. It seems like he's Jewish. Or maybe Shivim Shnaim Zagin, and he brings 72 bells. Shebahem Shivim Shnaim in Bolim, and inside there's a little, what do they call the little guy that hits the bell? The clapper. A closed rimoin made out of those three threads and interwoven threads, and so it looks something like this. Hamim rimoin. Again, we don't know, but whatever. Take a wild guess. If you take 72 total, so 36 on each side. Yeah, or maybe Shimshnaim, I said it. Reb Doisa. Now remember the name Rabbi Doisa, because he's going to come up soon, and it's something different. Doisa Rabbi Yehuda, Shleishim Shisha, he was 36. 18 and 18 on each side. Omar Rebbe Anoni Bar Sosin. Remember this name. Bar Sosin says, the son of Rebbe Sosin, Rebbe Anoni. Kimachleg is the only time in Shas. Kimachleg is Kan, Kimachleg is Bemaris Negoim. How many Negoim, different shades of Tzaras are there? 36. Sorry. Bisnan, Maris Negoim, how many shades of Tzaras in the house, on the beged, on a person? Rebbe Doisa, it's the same Rebbe Doisa. It's the same number he said before. And as the Gemara is going to say, this same meal that has these 36 bells, according to Rebbe Doisa, is what gives a kapara to Lashon Hara, which the Oynish of Lashon Hara is Tzaras. It's instead of the Tzaras. It's 36 Tzaras, 36 bells. It's not 36, it's 72. And he says, here comes that guy for real. Why is the karbanis next to the kinds of godim? The carbon comes to give a kapara of bigdei kuuna mechaprim. The kind wearing his beged is mechaper. Where do we see kapara? We learned throughout the whole Masechta is kapara. Where? By the tzitz. The tzitz is mechaper for tumas mikdash v'kadoshim. You can see that the kutaynis mechaperes al shvichus dam. The kutaynis, let's go to the kutaynis here. Kutaynis is all the way on the right. That's for a tzicha. I had a question here. Maybe you'll ask a question. And I had you seen Taisus an answer. Very nice answer. This week's Parsha Raboisai, Kisra Hashem, Vayishchatu Siri Izim Vayidlu Sakutainis Vadam, for Ritzicha the Kutainis. Mechlasayim V'chavrim Agila Arais, the pants, the Mechlasayim. You see them over here also in the chart. Shenemar V'asei Lohem Mechlasei Bad L'chazib B'sar Erva. Erva and Mechlasayim. B'sreves Mechaperes Agasi Yeruach, the belt. Minayin Omer V'chanino Yovei Dovish Goiva. Sorry, Mitzvah is the hat, something that comes on top of the head, on the highest part of the human being, on the kohen. The Chaper al Goiva, and it comes from something haughty, highness. Avnei Mechaper al Hir al Leiv. The Avnei, that's the belt, because you Chaper on thoughts that you have, bad thoughts. Where do you put the belt? We learned it in zevochim even, I think. By the elbow, it goes right over here by the heart. Choshen Mechaper al Adinim. If you do bad halachas, bad sakim, the ephod all the way to the left is the kapara al b'dezara shenem ha'inoifoid and ephod usrofim. Srofim, like we know with Terach and Avram, Srofim is the b'dezara. So ephod goes together with b'dezara. Me'il Rofim, right? Correct. Where else? What did I say? Well, yeah, okay, that's maybe Rashi says over there. Fine, but yeah, you're right. In the Torah of Srofim, meal mechaper lashon hara. The meal comes from lashon hara. Question: lashon hara, you have to do tshuva. You have to ask the guy mechila. What do you mean? The kohen is going to wear some begadim, and it's going to. So Tosfos goes into it and says, it's not for the person himself. It's for Klal Yisrael. That Klal Yisrael are ravens of this. So when a person does ritzicha, we suffer from it. So we get a kapar from him. He has to do his own tshuva, but we shouldn't get we shouldn't be punished for his aveira. So that's why we get a kapar from the kohen's begadim. We got. I'm sorry, I have to go weiter. Minayin me'il mechaper al shenhar minayin omer v'chanino yovi dovish b'kol v'yichaper al kol ara. The noise of the bells will be mechaper on the lashon hara. The tzitz mechaper al ponim and the tzitz mechaper on chutzpah. The tzitz ksiv hayal mitzacharon about the ponim ksiv u'metzach isha zoyna hayalach same lashon. Eini ask the Gemara. V'omer Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi shnei dvarim le'mitzinu lem kapar b'karbanos. There are two things that there's no kapara when it comes to a karban. I just did the quickest chart I ever did here, just so it's easier to follow. Two things you can't bring a carbon for, but you'll get a kapara doing something else. Killing and speaking lashon hara. Shvichus dam, you can't bring a carbon for killing. Megla rufa. But you get a kapara if you bring the calf and they chop off the head, etc. Lashon hara miktoiris. The Tanya of Chananya, Menai Lektoiris Chaperes, Ktoiris brings a kapara for Avedizara, for lashon hara. Shenema Vayidin Sektoiris V'Chaper Laham, that the Megefa stopped when he brought Ktoiris. The Tanya is very small. Amok Ktoiris V'Chaperes, lashon hara. Why? Yovedor Shebechashai. Something that you did. The Ktoiris you do in private, nobody can watch the client bringing Ktoiris, has to be in the Heichal, nobody can be there. You typically whisper to your friend, lashon hara about your friend. The problem is, Kashi lashon hara, lashon hara. So if you look at the chart, lashon hara we said, what's Mechaper? Ktoiris. And now we're saying it's the Me'il. Which one is it? And by Kamaz Ritzich, we said Egla Arufa is Mechaper. Is it the Ktoiris or Egla Arufa? Which one is it? Says the Gemara, Kashi Shvichus Dama, Shvichus Dama. Shvichus Dama, Shvichus Dama, like Kashi. It's not a Kashi. Hadi Dia Man Katlei. The Ktoiris helps when we know who the killer is. Hadi Dia Man Katlei. You don't know who it is, so then you go to the Egla Arufa. That's the Gemara. The Dia Man Katlei. If you know who the killer is, Baktolo, you got to kill him. No, you can't kill him because there's no Aiden that gave him. They didn't warn him. You can't ask stira that's Ktoiris in the meal. Habetzina, Ktoiris works for somebody that spoke Lashon Hara in private. The meal gives a kapara when you do it in public. Have a wonderful day.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shiur today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDYDaf.com.